Hello, welcome into the Voice of the Pioneers. I'm Jay Walker, and we have a very special guest on our inaugural show today, our new football coach at Warren County High School, Eric Ballou.
Thank you, man. I'm really excited to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Ballou or Blue?
Baloo.
Blue.
Yep, like the Jungle Book.
I didn't see the Jungle Book. I'm sorry. I also have some other special guests in the studio with us. Southern Standard sports reporter, sports editor,
Thank you. Yeah, editor.
Jeff Simmons.
Yeah.
Also, former Pioneer, former Vol, former Eastern Kentucky Colonel, K-Ron Calvert is with us.
Nice to be here again.
Got a studio audience of our athletic directors, Philip King, Anthony Lippy. Glad to have you guys with us.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're here tonight. By the way, we want to recognize our sponsors, Main Street Media, Southern Standard, and we're going commercial-free because of Ben Lowman. So we appreciate their efforts as well. We're here to get to know our new football coach, mainly today. Coach Eric Ballou, we've read about you in the paper, but want to hear firsthand about your background, where you come from, and what brings you here.
Yeah, I grew up in Columbia, Tennessee. Both my parents are actually finishing their last year of being educators. They're retiring after this year. My dad was the head football coach at Columbia growing up, so I've been around this, this lifestyle my whole life. My mom, also special education teacher, academic facilitator for over 30 years. My wife, Hannah, also an educator. Hannah's parents, educators. My sister-in-law, educator. My brother's the only one, I guess, that was smart enough not to go into education, but he sells elevators for a living. But yeah, that's kind of just education and athletics have been in my blood my whole life. Been very fortunate to be at a lot of different places early in my career, and I got to see a lot of successful programs and great places to live. And coming back to Middle Tennessee has always been something that's kind of been in the back of my mind. And when this opportunity came up, when you get here, you see the facilities and administration, just the supportive nature and backing of the program. It was just something that we couldn't turn down. So Hannah and I and our little one, Hattie, who's 2, we're really excited to be here.
You said you played at Columbia, which is where I'm going tonight for basketball. I'm sure you probably came after Dan Hugla.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure that name's kicked around.
That's right. Dan Ugla was my dad's first quarterback.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, hopefully I tell the story correctly, but my dad's first play he ever called as an offensive coordinator at Central, Dan Ugla threw like a 70-yard touchdown. So he is certainly royalty back in Columbia, and the excellent career he had with the Marlins and the Braves. I mean, he's certainly somebody that's very special to Maury County.
Yeah, he played football. I think last time they played Warren County.
Yeah,
I know he played up here at Nunley Stadium. So that name kind of came up.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I heard about Columbia.
Yeah.
Okay, you've been a head coach at a couple of places. Cumberland County comes to mind, and Cumberland County's kind of like Warren County. They've had their problems. Really, they haven't done much since Stone Memorial came into being.
Yeah.
What made you want to leave there after 1 year?
Yeah, so I was single at that time when I took that job, and about 2 or 3 weeks into the season, I met my now wife through a mutual friend, and we met halfway in Chattanooga for a date on a Saturday morning after a game, and I knew after that date that I better figure out a way to marry this woman. So. That played a huge role into that decision. There's still some people at Cumberland County that I consider some of my greatest friends, and still keep in contact with a lot of those folks. But just logistically, it made the most sense for me to move down to Rome where my wife lived. She had a really good setup, so she had ties and her family lived there, and my family still kind of lived far away. So it just made the most sense to go down there and live with her. But I certainly cherish my time at Cumberland County. Like I said, there's some of the best people I've ever met in my life that are at that place. Learned a lot. That was the first opportunity to cut my teeth as a head coach. Didn't know anything at all. It was trial by fire, but I had a great support cast there. And like I said, that was an extremely valuable year in my career as a educator and a coach.
I'm glad you're not there anymore. I don't like their stadium.
It is certainly unique.
Shots fired, Jay.
But the
Just get it rolling early.
the jet in the
I second.
background is pretty.
Yeah, the
it's
jet
pretty
is
special.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, stadiums ought to have a visitor
That's
seating
right.
area.
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So, but they did feed us good in the press box.
Oh,
I
yeah,
will say that
absolutely.
much. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first, congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to Warren County. A lot of people talk about when you're in the interview process, the best interviewees are the ones that can turn it around on the interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the questions that you had about Warren County when you got into this application process? What were the things that you needed to know about Warren County to make you feel comfortable here?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just logistical stuff, availability to bring people in. What was really nice was through the whole process is, you've got the questions kind of wrote down that you're going to ask through that process. I'd say 90 to 95% of them got answered through kind of the natural progression of the interview, So that, then obviously you've got the logistical stuff with family. My wife's also a teacher. We're able to work something like that out, which was great. She's going to be able to coach the girls' tennis team here, which she's a incredible tennis coach. Incredible. I mean, she's just an absolute rock star.
Breaking
in
news,
education.
ADs. You got a new girls tennis coach? Yeah, awesome.
Sorry, I didn't know if I was supposed to out that yet.
Don't worry, it's not. It's only live now. Go ahead.
But
Sorry.
just the fact that the stars just kind of aligned.
Yeah.
So that whole interview process was extremely impressive. Just sitting in on my end, the support from the superintendent all the way down was just extremely obvious. And like I said, all those questions pretty much got answered through the natural progression of it.
All right, follow-up question. Warren County's going to Columbia tonight. Who you rooting for?
They're at Warren County.
Yeah.
Great people
good
at
answer.
Columbia, but my heart's here now. So.
Awesome.
You met with the team a few minutes ago. What are your impressions?
Yeah, there's certainly some size. So that's exciting. That's I told them I've Coach Litt got me on the huddle a week or so ago, and I've probably watched over 20 hours of film just trying to get an understanding of what type of kids we got, what their strengths are. So I had a big number that showed up to the meeting, so that's going to be the goal. We want to go into spring and generate some excitement, get as many kids out to play as possible. So kids were very respectful. Had a lot of kids that looked me in the eye and shook my hand, which is extremely rare for teenagers nowadays. So the fact that there was quite a few kids that did that, that certainly is going to go a long way. It meant a lot to me.
What was the overall vibe?
I think there's going to be some anxiety. You can sense that once you start talking, but you hope that the kids know that you're there for them, which was a big driving point in that conversation. Was it's not about a new coach. It's not about all these new things. It's about providing the best experience possible for the youth. So I hoped at that point was driven home, and I took some time to meet with just the upcoming senior class after that meeting, and I really just kind of wanted to reiterate that and let them know that they're part of this process too. So hopefully that anxiety kind of got eased, because it's a big change. Any big change for a teenager is going to be heightened to some extent. So I feel like they were very receptive and respectful, and hopefully that anxiety turned into excitement towards the end of the meeting.
K-Ron, you went through some coaching changes in high school and college. What was it like from your point of view?
Really, I mean, you just kind of you hope that you get somebody who wants to, like he says, come in, care about you, not just here for, in college, the money, but not just here just to, kind of beat your chest, but just to know that, like, listen, the program we all know has been struggling a little bit. You just hope that they have some type of recipe to build off of, not just I know football and I know I can get it done. Like it's easier said than done, There's things you have to go through to get to where you want to get to. I'm assuming it's gonna be really hard. I hope it's really hard in the off season, because that's where you find your diamonds in the rough, so to speak. But just like you said, there's some anxiety, some nervousness going on, because they don't know what's to come. There's just only hope. You can only hope. So I really feel comfortable. I haven't even met the guy yet. I just met him now. I didn't even read about him in the paper.
Come on, man.
Well, I mean, I didn't. I'm just being blatantly honest because sometimes, and nothing against the media, sometimes the media can.
Now he's coming after you, Jay.
Sometimes the media can get you all hyped up for something that you maybe shouldn't even really be hyped up about. But sitting here listening to him, I can tell he's very passionate, and he's wanting to come and really turn Warren County around, which I really hope he does, and I think he can. So,
Thank you.
Coach, he mentioned off season, hoping it's hard. What are your plans as far as getting them in the weight room?
Yeah, I think that was one of the logistical questions when it comes to the administration interview process. What does that look like? And they're doing a lot of work to kind of get that set up to where we can get everybody, in one place. And it's hard when you got, scheduling stuff of getting all of sports together, and the eagerness to do that from the administration was a huge plus. Like I said, that was one of those things that naturally kind of got answered through that process. So, all of our kids are going to have to be in weights. All of our kids are going to have to be, and as coaches, we got to figure out ways to work with our administration and work with these kids' schedules to make sure that if it's before school or after school, but they've got to understand that that's going to be the priority. So we're going to figure out a way to get them all lifting, all, working extremely hard. And I'm very fortunate to have a background in strength and conditioning. I've been a strength and conditioning coach at 2 different locations. So, and then working together with our staff to figure out, and what I used in that meeting a bunch was ceiling, is figuring out what our ceiling is. And there is no way that you can reach your ceiling with any sports program without adequate strength and conditioning. So that's certainly going to be a big component to the process.
I don't know how much you've met with any parents. One problem that a coach runs into sometimes getting all the parents to buy into the importance of kids being at practice every day, being at the weight room when they're supposed to.
Yeah, I think in my experience when it comes to any type of communication with parents, usually all of those issues can be mitigated if those parents know that the coaches love the kids. All of those conversations usually get significantly shorter, when they know. And then your conversations are just logistical stuff as opposed to, complicated, I don't think our son, or I don't think they care about our kid or anything like that. The expectation amongst our staff is going to be, those kids first have to know that we love them and that we're here. This program is about them, and it's not about anything else. It's not about a coach's agenda. So I think that kind of mitigates a lot of those issues, but then also we've got to provide an environment in practice and in games and in the weight room to where the kids don't have a choice but to show up. To where, man, I love coming to weights. I had a coach who used to say when I was in high school all the time, there's got to be a mentality of, I don't have to go to practice, I get to go to practice. Yep. And I think when you create that environment, the dentist appointments, and all of my third cousin's birthday party I got to go to seem to start disappearing, and it's usually because there's an environment where the kids want to be a part of. So that's what we're going to pursue.
Yeah, that's a challenge because football's hard.
Football is hard, but hard and fun can coexist.
Yeah. The good thing about it is in my experience in 15 years of covering here, our parents are great. Yeah. We never have any issues in any sports with any of our parents. So I would assume that you will be great with that too. Now,
let's get deep in here.
Can I throw him a curveball here, Jay?
Go ahead.
I need to learn about this guy.
Okay.
Sure. I'm going to learn a lot out of this question. Best football movie?
Oh, jeez, that's
your
really
personal favorite. Your personal favorite.
No, it's not Blindside. There's a lot of stuff that's came out about that over the past couple years too. Man, I love Friday Night Lights.
Okay. Yeah.
I love Remember the Titans. Man, that's tough. I'll probably go Friday Night Lights, but then there's so many that I like. The Program, I love The Program. Yeah. Seat at the Table. That's one of my favorite quotes of all time. Probably going to go Friday Night Lights, but if you ask me again tomorrow it's probably going to be a different answer.
Understandable. Yeah, I was gonna say, I you know, some people it bounces around. You know, mine's Varsity Blues, but I mean, we're
Yeah. If you ask me tomorrow, that's probably going to be. I have a tweeter jersey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that I wore for Halloween that I wear all the time now.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, K-Ron. Yeah.
I mean,
You like that answer as far as lots of
I
enough?
mean, you really can't go wrong with any of those football movies. I like, I think it's Gridiron.
Gridiron
Game?
Gridiron.
Yeah.
Game.
Yeah.
It's entertaining.
The Water Boy. I mean, there's so many of them.
That's
Nah,
right.
I was gonna say, I know more about this guy now.
Well, nobody asked me, but my favorite, and I'm the old guy of the bunch. The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds.
With Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one. I didn't like the second one.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The first one.
I can understand that.
What's wrong with the second one, Jay?
It wasn't as good as the first one. K-Ron.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah, the only problem with that one is the why Burt Reynolds went to jail becomes a lot more problematic now.
Yeah, yeah.
A little bit more problematic now than everybody's. He's still the favorite. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail this and turn this into something completely different.
I don't know.
Nah.
Just so many quotes from that movie, most of which you can't say on the radio.
Yeah.
But hey, we're
very
not
memorable.
on the radio right now. Can
well,
check it out.
We're gonna be.
Okay. there's people behind me right now going, stop him now.
Although the acting was so good in Facing the Giants, you know. And I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, yeah.
Getting back to our coach here.
Yeah, go back. Yeah, sorry.
Are you? And this may be a question for the ATs, but are you going to be bringing your own staff in, or what's that going to be like?
Yeah, I mean that's certainly we've had that conversation today some too. Early stages of that, but there's a lot of those conversations have been extremely productive, and that was talked about in the interview process. So we're certainly in the early stages of that. But the willingness to work together to create an environment for a staff and bring in a staff to that'll be most suitable for the program is certainly there. That process has definitely started.
Who's in charge of the weight room right now?
Coach Harris, right?
Harris.
Okay, yeah. Wrestling. Are you going to raid the wrestling team?
What I say is I want our kids participating in as many sports as possible. Wrestling obviously is extremely suitable for football. Same thing with basketball, baseball, track. We want our kids playing everything.
Yeah. If only we can get that baseball coach on board with that, we'll be in good shape.
I'm just glad you mentioned track. I mean, speed has been.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Speed has been one of our, in my opinion, has been one of our issues. We do have talented kids.
Mm-hmm.
We do have kids that are fast, quick.
Yep.
But do we have kids who are fast?
Right.
We know, as anybody in sports knows, speed kills. But especially in football, if you have people who are fast, that can eliminate a lot of issues.
That's right.
A lot of issues. So I hope that you guys find a way to implement speed during the off season.
I'll say, I think we had a school record 4x400 or 4x800 team last year, and if it's coming back, need to get some of those kids. I don't know if any of those kids are on the football team right
400's a man's race. That's what I ran in high school for 2 years. I mean, I love track. I mean, it's just so suitable. There's a reason why I only ran it for 2 years. I'm telling you, it was.
I don't think I've run 400 meters in my life.
I'm telling you, and I say all the time, I think that is the most difficult event in all of sports is sprinting one lap. And there was just so many days where you run that 400 meter and then you just go lay in the middle of the track, for an hour. I mean, it's brutal, but
What were you clocking in the 400?
a 50.1, I think, my sophomore year. Then I moved into the 200 and 100 my junior and senior year. My brother was the really fast one. My brother was a 10.6.
The elevator salesman?
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you. But he played at Chattanooga, all-state receiver. But he ran a 10.6 on the 100 meter. He could scoot.
Goodness
Telling
gracious.
you.
Wow.
He got all the good genetics, I guess.
You were talking about the weight room and talking about just some early things. I'm a big Vol fan. I mean, been growing in Tennessee, K-Ron's Vol guy too. Tony Vitale coaches the baseball team. He had a really big saying that stuck with me in a post game one time, where he said that he gets to define the success of his program. Mm-hmm. That everybody else, the media, us, the things that we'll do outside of it, we'll try to define your success. But he personally gets to define his success. What's success to you in the next 6 months? What's success to you first year?
Yeah, and kudos to that, because when you have a comfortable enough environment within your program to where the staff and the players get to define what the success is, mm-hmm. that means that what Nick Saban would talk about, the rat poison that would sneak in, that means that that's not there. So, yep. And obviously with Tennessee baseball, as much as I hate to say it, as successful as they've been, I'm sorry, I'm a Bama fan.
Oh my goodness!
I know.
Stop it right now.
I know this thing down.
I knew that was coming. But I'd rather
wrap it.
Can we get another interview?
I'd rather get that out of the way now than y'all find out in September.
Oh man,
transparency is important.
Thank you for being transparent.
Wow.
But I will say though, side note, I love Heupel. I think he's doing a great job, and he's certainly a great coach. But just to back off that, I think. And I name drop a bunch, I guess, but Tom Herman used to be the coach at Houston when they had that really good run. Mm-hmm. And he talked about a bunch where, being 1-0 in what's right in front of you. So that's the approach that we want to take. Saban talks about all the time. It's the process and not so much about the end result. And, that's really where I want our players and staff to live. Mm-hmm. I don't like to worry about, hey, this is the record that we have to get to this year. If we've got a set of 4 on squat, that's what we need to be 1-0 in. When we get to having the pads on in the spring, if we're working a down block or a reach drill, we need to be worried about being 1-0 and what's right in front of us, because it's just impossible with the way teenagers are ingrained now for them to have an attention span for something that's 6 months to 18 months away.
You're not wrong.
And you have to live in their world. And the way to do that is to kind of compartmentalize those things. And, hey, let's just worry about today. Let's worry about right now. And then when you're about the process, that's when the results come. Yep. But I talk about the only thing about long-term I'll talk about is the ceiling. We've got to figure out what our ceiling is, and we've got to do whatever it takes to get that ceiling. And one thing I talked about with the kids is I think most teenagers, their ceiling is significantly higher than what they believe. So when we can break through that wall and they start seeing where that ceiling really is, then that's when really, really special things start to happen.
What do you when do you expect to start spring practice?
That's actually a conversation we've kind of talked about in the past a day or two. So we don't want to lay down a date yet, but obviously we want to figure out a time to where we have most of our athletes out. But what we just talked about in a meeting before I met the kids, the expectation is that all of our baseball players and track athletes and all spring sports, they're going to win a state championship in what they're doing. So I don't anticipate having those guys during spring ball. So, we'll figure out
baseball coach like that.
Well, that's, and whoever we do have out for spring, that the goal is just kind of start that first spring is engraving our, system and our values. And, if we don't have those guys because they're competing for state championships, then that's great. That's what we want. So then we'll get them rolling into the summer.
How much time do you expect to spend with the players during the next – I know you got some moving in to do, a lot of stuff to do. How much time do you expect to be able to spend with your team?
Yeah, so that goes back to a lot of that time is going to be spent in the weight room, with Coach Harris having them. And then also, there's some – I got to make sure all the rules, and I think you can have a 6-player session, I think, with training. And I know all that. I want to make sure I get all the TWSAA regulations down on that. And I was a stickler about that in Georgia. Georgia has something called 4-on-1s, and our staff knew it ain't 5-on-1s. It ain't 6-on-1s. We're going to make sure we abide by all the policies that TWSAA has in place. So within that realm of what we are allowed to do, we're going to do that. But the most important thing is getting kids in the weight room and getting after it and getting swole. I guess. Well, maybe that's what we used to say. I don't know if they say that now. But So
you're asking people older than you.
That's right.
What the young kids are saying.
I'm 25 years old. So.
You're looking at me and Jay like we know what the kids are saying.
We're still saying.
Okay.
Ripped, swole,
Yeah. whatever word they use, we're gonna get it done.
Speaking on that topic, though, what do you feel like it's an advantage or a disadvantage that your age plays with being a head coach this young in the game? I mean, you're what 30, turned 31 in March, I think. Why I know that? Don't worry about it. But yeah, has it been an advantage, disadvantage? Does it help? Well, where does it help? Where do you feel like maybe people might take some shots at or anything like that?
Well, I think there's pros and cons. I mean, I know you're kind of touching on it already. Like, kids initially are going to think that you're going to be more relatable because it's like 2015 was the last time I put pads on my senior year in college, so it's really not that long ago. That's this fall will be 10 years. Yep. So there's a lot of positives with that when it comes to kids are going to think you're going to be more nuanced, and so there's going to be a less initial barrier when it comes to developing those relationships, which doesn't mean to say that the coach has been doing it for 30 or 40 years can't do the same thing. They can, and I've seen it done. But one thing that I think has been very beneficial for me is being a coach's kid and coaching under somebody like Bobby Sharp at Lewis County, to the point to where, what they've said is that they both said this a million times to me, is like, you have got to continue to learn and you've got to continue to be moldable throughout your entire coaching career. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you a veteran mindset from the beginning of your career, because I think a big issue, especially guys that are my age, and especially guys that have had college experience, they think that they know everything. And what I was very, very humbled with my first actual teaching coaching gig with Coach Sharp, a Hall of Famer, I don't know anything, and there's so much that I can learn. And there was a guy like that, he's well in his career, has accomplished pretty much everything, and he still has the mindset of continuing to learn and to be moldable. So I think that process kind of helps me personally come over the barrier of lack of experience, because you can't add years. The only way you can do that is you got to live it. So obviously there's going to be the 30 years old, not as experienced, is going to make those youthful mistakes, and people can think that, and maybe that does happen, but how you respond to those mistakes and how you learn from those is what's most important.
I was on the team with Bobby Sharp.
Really?
One spring.
Yeah.
At Lake County, spring practice.
Yeah.
And he was a standout. And I think he either transferred or got hurt.
Yeah.
And didn't play in the fall. But what an athlete. What a coach. I
think the world of him. He is, he's somebody that I still, stay in contact with. I owe so much of my career to how much I learned underneath him and still continue to learn underneath him. I mean, I think the world of him.
Tell us about your time in Georgia.
Yeah, so I moved down to Georgia in January of 2020, so right before COVID started. It was just – all that was just a logistical nightmare. But what ended up happening was my father-in-law, who is also, as mentioned, a coach. He coached football at Rockmart High School for a long time. That's where my wife was coaching tennis at. And then they ended up giving me a job there. And what was really unique about that job is I went from being a head coach at Cumberland County to essentially what they did was you coached middle school and high school the way they had it structured. And I was a middle school coach for a year. Coach Biff Parson, I'm going to speak the same way about him as I did Coach Sharp. He's a head coach there. I don't think he's lost a region game in 9 years, 2 state final appearance. I mean, he's well onto his path of being a Hall of Famer. I kind of had to start my career over. And the opportunities he provided for me was he gave me a chance and, kind of worked my way up. The next year, a linebacker's job opened at the varsity level, and he asked me to take that position, a position that I did not have any experience coaching. And what he essentially told me is if you want to be a head coach again, you've got to learn other positions. So that's what he did for me. He provided me that opportunity. Probably schematically, I learned more in that year being exposed to that opportunity than, any other year of my experience. So that was great, just being uncomfortable and learning. And then the next year, he kind of felt pleased with the progress that I had made, and then he moved me to the special teams coordinator, which is something I'm super passionate about. I've got to play a lot of special teams in college, so taking on that role, kind of the coordinator role, and also he moved me back to receivers, which I guess was more so of my forte. That was great. I think so highly of that program and Biff and what he's done with his success there has just been second to none. Then the opportunity at Armurchie came up, and that was an opportunity where we didn't have to move. I was living in Rome already at the time, so when that job came open, administration there has been nothing but good to me and my family. Really, really good opportunity. They were going through a significant facility change, new turf field, new field house. That first year, they really needed somebody to help transition of not having a field house at all because they had to demolish it for the new one to go in place. So there was kind of just all these logistical things, that first year that really was really good to kind of cut my teeth back into being a head coach again. And it was a really, really tough schedule. And we played a lot of really, really competitive games. Beat a 4A school twice and beat a 3A school. That first game of the year this past season, a lot of growth, and my staff there was just exceptional. So I got to learn a whole lot from, our staff, especially my defensive coordinator, Jamie Rice, who did an excellent job there. All that was just great. And, that kind of rolled me into what we talked about initially, getting back to Middle Tennessee, and this job came open, and contacted some guys that are in my coaching circle, and they had nothing but great things to say about this opportunity. So it's got me where I'm at today.
Have you been to – I'm assuming you've been to the stadium, Nunley Stadium. Yeah,
we drove by, yep. And then Hannah, she's here. We're going to drive by again today.
Yeah, what do you think about it?
It's extremely unique. The offset away stands, I think that's pretty cool. And there's something about stadiums that have character. All the new stadiums and all that stuff's great. Like, I love that kind of stuff, turf. But there's something about when you can smell Bermuda, when you wake up in the morning, it's something special. I've been painting fields since I was little. I remember going out and doing a terrible job helping my dad, pull strings and all those things. I mean, it just there's something about natural grass that I hope never goes extinct. But like I said, I'm both, and I think you can kind of live on both sides. Are you a natural or a turf guy? I think there's great positives to both. And that's just something. There's always something special about a stadium that has lots of memories and character behind it.
Don't do it, Jay. Don't do it.
Don't
put him on the spot about the new stadium, the high school stadium yet.
Not time to do that. Just
That's right.
It's news to me. But I hope you keep them on grass as much as possible. And I'm not trying to make this about myself. I've had a lot of knee issues. I do think, like you said, there is pros to both. I fall on the grass side. I hope you stay on grass, but you're the head coach. You do what you want to. I'm just saying, I think it's more beneficial for them to be on grass because that's what they're going to be on. I don't know how many stadiums you're going to go to that they do have turf. So I do think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a world certainly where both exist, so we'll certainly find a way to meet in the middle.
Yeah, this next season, I don't think we're going to play on turf.
Half the region last year was, but that's
year before last we played 3 games on turf.
We're onward, forward. We're past that. We're past that region now. So we're in good shape. X's and O's. What's a play call sound like in a Coach Ballou offense? Well, rattle something off, and then we'll see if K-Ron can decipher it because I know I can't.
All right, here we go. Let's go wing east near. Twins. I'm doing a long one here.
Go ahead, yeah.
Let's go Z-Jet behind, Blue Gabby triple.
Okay.
That's a super long one, and I hate long plays. But, I want to say the confusing ones for the people that are going to be watching.
K-Ron wants to tackle doing in that.
It depends on what. Give me another play. I'll see if I can.
Now we told K-Ron his position, so now he'll be more listening for what he's got to do.
I'll say this, all of our verbiage means something. Like, we don't call things, like we're not just going to call power to the right, without giving too much away. Like, all of our verbiage is tagged within which is it's a old wing tee, Herschel Moore verbiage. That's the system that I first learned on it with Bobby Sharp. And this is public knowledge. Like buck 30X means buck action in the backfield, the 3 back to the 0 hole, and the X is the weak side guard. That means that they're pulling. So we don't verbalize it the same way, but all of those principles are still in the same place to where they hear, oh, I'm the B, like power for us, it starts with it's a B word, and that stands for the back. Yeah. And then if they hear G in that word, that tags the G. So. But I'm giving too much away.
It's okay. It's okay. You can kind of change that whenever you get there. I know. Yeah. I mean, you could honestly be setting some coaches up right now.
That's right.
It's methodical, so they don't really know.
We're gonna run 5 wide 100% of the time.
Yeah, this guy's playing 3D chess over here, guys. Really watch out.
Even if they do know, I mean, they've got to stop it. So I mean, sometimes not to get off on me, but sometimes back when I was in college. When I had Coach Pruitt, he'd be like, it doesn't matter if they know. We're going to run it, and they've got to stop it, so make them stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think my philosophy schematically, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is the Bruce Lee quote. I don't fear the man that knows 1,000 kicks. I fear the man that's practiced one kick 1,000 times. So, there's going to be – and this is something that people will see on film. I mean, we're going to have a million different formations. But we're going to have basic skills that our kids are going to do a million times throughout the summer and off season. So, and then also once we learn our kids more, I'm not going to put our kids into a box, right? We've got to figure out what our kids are good at, what they're comfortable in, and we're going to live in that world, So, you don't do the square peg in a round hole. So, we're going to figure out what's most comfortable and what scores the most points. Right. So, and if that's 5 wide every play, I'll do whatever scores the most points.
Do you like to go with tempo?
I like doing both, I like what I've called a rock and roll tempo where we're moving fast, no huddle. And then you have an R&B tempo where, we're slowing down. So it's not so much of how many plays you can get in, but your offense should dictate the tempo of the game, whether it's fast or slow. So, the same thing on the defensive side of the ball. You've got to be able to play at multiple tempos. So, one drill that I love on the defensive side is lining up to 50 formations, in 5 minutes. You got a formation facing this way, you line up to it, then you turn around, you got a formation behind you. So, tempo is going to be a huge part of the game because that's really the past. And Heupel's on the offensive side of the ball is the master of that. He's the he should be the spokesperson for tempo. He runs
tempo and wide splits.
and it's difficult. It's.
Don't take me back.
I'm telling you.
Sorry, Carol.
Don't take me back. No, he really is though.
Yeah.
I've noticed this past year they kind of slowed their tempo down. They weren't as fast as they were when he first implemented the offense when I first got there.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, they did a study on it. They were averaging the snap every 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And going from that to going from just playing in my opinion, regular football, it was different.
Yeah.
But it was effective. And
Yep.
that's the part you're talking about. Effective. If it's effective, we'll do it. If it's not, well, we're just gonna toss it out and see what's effective. So I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, my freshman year at Tech, we played Oregon with Chip Kelly and Marcus Mariota, and that we actually, it seemed like our offense was kind of mirrored off what Chip Kelly did at Tennessee Tech, or when I was at Tennessee Tech, and I think tempo is a very broad term, so we're going to figure out what best tempo is for us.
So you got to go out to Autzen and play?
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, I went out there when Tennessee played one time. That stadium's awesome.
And flying,
I couldn't imagine what being down there was.
Well,
it's loud.
Well, yeah, if I'm on the playing field, that wall right there is where the stands are. They're right on top of you. Yeah. So and I got my first college catch that game. It was something that I'll never forget. When you're flying over, you get to fly over the stadium because, if my memory's correct, it's close to the airport. Mm-hmm. So you see Autzen Stadium right there surrounded by all the pine trees. And what I remember most about the facility was I'm pretty sure you could punt in their indoor facility. That's how large and how high their ceilings were. It was unbelievable. They had to have the reflector lights for airplanes. That's how high it was. It was.
Wow.
And they were, and this was 2012. What they had kind of established was way ahead of the game, you know, compared to they were doing what the SEC schools are, and that's why they've won as many games as they have in the past 13 years since then.
Yep.
All right, we're probably getting close to time here, but want to thank everybody for coming in. I want to thank our Southern Standard sports reporter,
Absolutely.
Jeff Simmons, K-Ron Calvert, former Vol, former Pioneer.
Hey, former a lot.
Yeah.
Former wide receiver, just so you know.
Oh,
I did.
He
Yeah.
did. He
4
did
catches and 197 yards and 2 tuts. I saw it.
you
I was
go.
there.
yeah.
I was there. I was at that
Yeah.
game.
That was before I gained probably another 100
Shoot.
pounds.
You talk about efficient. That's
I remember
efficient
seeing
right
his
there.
lineup in the backfield for Tennessee one play.
Yeah.
I got excited. Give it to K-Rod. Give it to K-Rod.
I told Coach Chaney all the time, dude, Coach, just give me one. Just give it to me once.
He wanted to be a Wildcat quarterback his entire high school career. He was.
If it scores points, why not?
Hey, if
He
it makes
could throw-
dollars, it makes sense.
He can
right.
throw the
That's what
ball.
Jimmy Haley always said.
Yeah.
I've got one more question.
Yeah.
though. And I don't know if this is important to you or not, but I do think it is important. One of the coaches mentioned it back when I was in high school. I can't remember which one, so I'm not going to say what name. But it's like kids. They go out and it's easy to roll a basketball out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and play 5-on-5. But how important is 7-on-7 to you? And will you be going to a lot of 7-on-7s, or will you just be just strictly like we're just going to keep it home and get ourselves right first before we go out and try to compete for 7-on-7?
Yeah, I think 7-on-7 can be extremely valuable when it's tamed and in its place. You know, I think that there can be too much and there can also be too little. Right. You know, I want our kids just like playing in other sports. You know, if they want to go out and do a 7-on-7 league, kind of on their own, like. As long as it's being coached well and they're taken care of, and that coach has their best interest in mind, so be it. I love 7-on-7 for the most part, just for the competitive aspect of it. Right. But it's also got to be extremely tamed. Like one thing you can't do if we're on the offensive side of the ball, I can't let my quarterback sit back there for 7 seconds. Right. That creates incredibly bad habits. My receivers think that they have 6 seconds to get open, and that's not a reality. So I think you have to hold. Within that realm, you have to hold your program extremely accountable because there's some things that there's some problems that can leak in and get hidden through 7-on-7. But when it's put in its proper place, it can be super beneficial. You got to figure out ways to slow the game down going into that first scrimmage, and 7-on-7 can be a big factor in that. But it's also got to be, you got to protect your kids too.
Awesome.
Got to make sure you have the proper equipment on and all those things. So. It's certainly going to be used. I can't say how much or how little at the moment, but it'll certainly be used for sure.
All right, what are your plans the next few days as you get ready to move down here?
Yeah, so getting our house sold is certainly number one on the list right now.
I know some people.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you. So going through that, my last official day at our Armuchee is this coming Friday. So finishing out strong there, I'm going to make sure that place is left better than we found it. And then that Saturday we're moving on the 1st. So that was the first quest that I needed from the kids was helping us unload that U-Haul on Saturday. So then first official day in the building is planned for February 5th, that following Wednesday. So
it's a great day.
Yeah,
Tremendous
so good.
Somebody's birthday.
It's mine.
Happy early birthday then.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Good team bonding experience will be helping
That's
the
right.
coach move in.
Yep, and pay them in pizza, and they'll be
There you go.
100%.
So
There you go. How much time are you going to spend recruiting the hallways?
that's another thing that I talked about with the kids today. There's kids that if they they fit that mold, they want to be competitive. They want to be a selfless teammate. If they fit that mold, let's go get them. I would love to not have enough helmets going into the season. That's a great problem to have. So, that's and what I hope, and we talked about this in the interview process too, is that as a coach, I can do my best to get out in the hallways and get kids, but from my experience, the biggest recruiter is how the kids talk about the program. When they're all hanging out on Saturday at the pool or whatever, how they talk about the program, like, man, we had a blast at practice today. That's what gets kids to come out, in my experience. So hopefully, going through workouts, a soft season and spring ball, we generate some excitement and the kids will recruit themselves.
Agree.
What do you say to the fans who they're looking at your record right now? You haven't really had a chance to really build a program. What do you say to those people who look at the record and say, well, he's not 10-0, or what do you say to those people?
Yeah, that's fair, but I think what the most important thing is going to be that our kids know that they're taken care of and that they're loved. And then we go back to that process, right? If we do everything the right way, I have never had an opportunity like I have right now at Warren County. So our kids are going to generate enough excitement because I know that they're going to be taken care of. And I think that's where the excitement is actually generated from, because it's the same thing as recruiting. And our kids go home and they say, Coach got after us today, but we had a blast. That's what generates excitement in the community in my mind. And then through that process, I think we've got the kids to be really successful. So, it starts with how we treat the kids first and how we hold them accountable, and the excitement that's generated in the locker room and on the practice field, and then it kind of exuberates itself from there.
Okay, your ADs have anything to add? Coach Lippy, Coach King?
Well, thanks for having us on your
Absolutely.
program.
Well,
first
thanks
of
for
all.
coming in.
And,
Slide it that way.
obviously,
Come in, PK.
there you go. You can have that one.
Or you want this?
Hey, just while they're moving their chairs, just so you know, if you're a pizza place locally and you want to be a sponsor of the Main Street Media Show, we could have gave you a free shout out right there and been poaching Coach to your pizza place. So if you want to sponsor the Jay Walker Show, get on it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us. We're really excited to be here, and we're really excited that Eric's going to be in our community. And I'll make this quick because you had mentioned a minute ago about trying to wrap it up. What we want more than anything else is we want to put ourselves in a position where we're doing what's best for the kids. Several weeks back we all talked, and you can look at the history, and I played here, graduated in '89, and played for Coach Ray Barnes, and that was a million years ago it seems like. But more than anything else, what we all wanted to do is let's see what we can do right now. What is it that we can control, and what is it that we can put in place? What are some things we can do from a school environment? Bringing in coaches, that was a thing that got mentioned, and we just want to set Coach Blue up along with our kids for what's going to be the most success. Because it'd be great to look at 5 years, 10 years from now and say, here are the things that we put in place that are really, everybody wants to win right now. And going in a non-region schedule, we haven't talked about wins and losses. We're not worried about that. We want to get to a scenario where what we can do is we try to get more kids out. And, it's a process. If there are people that are out there that are going to look at what a record is after this season or the next season, that's not what we're talking about. Yeah, we'd love to go to 10-0, but what can we do to put a plan in place where there's going to be a longevity of success? And the ultimate goal would be to win state championships, but let's get the foundation and start the process and do things the right way. We don't want to hire a guy and say, all right, here you go, you're plugged in. I'm stealing a line from Lip, so I'm using it
all the time with this guy, all the time.
Plug a guy
First
in
to the mic.
Yeah.
He's the first to
as a
say
head
it.
coach and say, hey, we're glad to have you. You're on your own.
Yeah.
It doesn't do any of us any good if we can't go out and say, hey, have you got a defense coordinator? You got an offense coordinator? What things do you need? I told Coach Blue one of the things that, and I feel like I've tried to do this as an athletic director with all of our coaches. When I go see that person in the hallway, what do you need? What can we do? I don't think my job is to look over your shoulder and criticize and critique, because I wouldn't want somebody to do that. Todd didn't do that for me in baseball. It's what can we do to support, and we want to give him every opportunity to come in and succeed. And we can talk about the things, but at the same time, what he's going to be saying to his players are the same things that we're saying to him. What do you need? But it's not going to really have any weight until he sees what we will do to help support and give him the things that he needs.
All right. Anthony, got anything?
Yeah, just following up on what he said too. He hit on a lot of those things that we've talked about already. And ultimately, it's not just, hey, we're going to hire this guy and good luck, or just like you hire the teacher and say, here's the keys and good luck. Go find your textbooks. It's not gonna. We've done that before. We've tried to plug in guys, and hey, let's see what they can do. Well, it's not just him, and that was a big factor in the interview process. Was like, look, we're not gonna leave you hanging out to dry. He and I, and Mr. Hobbs, and even Dr. Swallows, we've got a lot of work to do. It's not just hire a guy and we'll see how you do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that, you know, we've had many discussions, many afternoons, a lot of hours that have gone into it, and it's not as simple as just hiring a guy. So I think that was one of the things that Coach Ballou could tell from the beginning is how passionate we are about it, how we want to support our coaches, and not just football. We want to be successful across the board in academics and all sports. And we've done that last year with our academic scores. We've had some really good results, and so we're across the board looking to see what we can do to help him as well as our student athletes.
All right. Well, thank you everybody again.
And I was going to say last thing. I think Coach is too modest to point this out, but Warren County's a lot of times been referred to as the buckle of the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
Coach Ballou, if you want to go on Amazon.com, look up God and Football. We have a published author, two published authors in this room. Yeah. Well, I didn't. Right. I'm just a writer. Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out too. I think that's going to be a big part from our conversations. I think that's going to be a big part of the program. So if you want to know a little bit more about him, check out that book.
All right.
Jeff, let me add something back to you real quick, if you don't mind. Sorry, Jay, I didn't mean to cut you
Oh,
off.
you're good.
They're giving them. Go ahead.
I can tell you first and foremost, if every one of my baseball players played football, I would be a happy man. I know that. I know. I just mess with it. But it's been sad, and I think. And let me say this, and I'll be done because I don't want it to be about anything other than Coach Ballou. But when you look at teams, and you have to do it. If I'm out there in the fall doing long toss or arm care and things like that, and I got 25 kids, and I look over at the practice football field, and whatever the number is, I'm sitting here thinking these 25 could be over here, and they could, how many things that they're going to learn that I learned in football from Coach Barnes and those guys that we were able to turn around and do with Coach Walker and Coach Brown.
Absolutely.
That. There's a level of toughness. There's a level of competition. There's the cross-training aspect. There's so many things that – and I know that everybody's not a football player. But if you're not doing that, well, they're going to run cross-country. Do something else. Because playing multiple sports for me and my brother and a lot of athletes that we've seen over the years, that's huge. And we're going to do everything we can. I was watching kids walk down the hallway this morning before we met. I was like, hey, you need to come in this meeting. Some of my guys, hey, get in there, because I want it to be successful. And that success that football has, it's the front porch to the school year. Sorry, Jay.
That's coming from a Hall of Famer right there, Jay.
And
That's
Coach Ray Barnes. Mamas and daddies, good football savvy. I had to say that. Jeff Simmons with the Southern Standard, K-Ron Calvert, Anthony Lippy, Philip King, and Coach Eric Ballou. Thank you so much for coming in, Coach. And just know that you got a lot of support in this room. And anything we at Main Street Media can do for the program, I want you to reach out to us, let us know.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
All right. For those listening on Star 107, I'm going to make a miraculously quick trip to Columbia. We got some Pioneer basketball coming up next. I want to thank everybody for watching with us, listening to us, and we'll see you next time on The Voice of the Pioneers.